Online for Authors. I'm chatting with Hema Gupta, author of The Things We Never Said Out Loud. Welcome, Hema.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am super excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you as well. As I told you when you first reached out to me, I don't normally do a lot with poetry because I don't understand poetry a lot of times,
Okay.
and I'm not a super big fan often because I feel like it goes over my head.
Right.
This, however, I didn't feel that way. I actually, I mean, there were a couple of times where it was like, I don't understand that one, but in general, I felt very connected to this poetry. But before we kind of dive into that, can you tell listeners what are they going to find when they open up this cover? Like, what type of poetry are they finding inside?
So this is prose, and my book is a part of a trilogy, actually. So the first book is like it's prose, and the second book is not poetry. It's the story behind the first book.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little complicated, but when I first wrote this book, I wanted to write experiences, like cumulative experiences, emotions. And a lot of people thought that this is kind of like a personal diary. And I let them believe that. I was like, yes, I'm not ready to reveal that this is part of a trilogy, actually. And so essentially, this book is going to make more sense when you read the second book. And this is a world of its own.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So what I wanted people to understand is just like, it's not just poems on a page, it's a world, there's a character. And what readers don't know yet is like, I have a main character, her name is V, and she wrote these poems, every single one of them. And these are her experiences and her confessions and her most intimate moments, the ones that she's never said out loud to anyone. So when you're reading this book, you're not reading my diary, you're essentially reading hers. And it's complicated, it's dark, it's magnetic. And I kind of want people to fall in love with my character who's written, basically who's written the first book. And she's the kind of woman that walks into a room and like everyone feels her before they understand why. So basically the second book is going to open the curtains on her, who she is, who she loved and everything. But the first one is just kind of like, treading, like, dipping my feet in the water so people kind of just get like an idea before they actually go along with the series.
Awesome. I love that. I've never spoken to someone before who's had that kind of plan. What prompted you to do it this way versus, the traditional way that most people set about writing a trilogy or set about getting to know a character?
So I kind of wanted people to to experience my book twice. My book twice, my series twice, and I wanted it to be like a puzzle because I really love puzzles. I'm the kind of person that could sit and do puzzles for hours, and I wanted people to feel a little disconnected, a little bit with the first, when they read the poetry book. It's like, oh, these are probably her experiences, and then there's a surprise element of actually no, I'm building a world. There's like characters, and this is her diary, and it's kind of like when you read something for the first time and you have one idea of it, but then you have to go back and reread it because now you have more information. I kind of like that. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted people to go through like this series as many times as they can to really understand the intricacies of it, the intricacies of my characters, of like, the emotions, of like everything that I penned down. And I wanted people to kind of be at war with it. I like when people feel like conflicted. I think that's like one of my favorite emotions. It's not really even an emotion. It's like a state of mind to be in conflict with something, like hold two things that could equally be true in the same space.
Right.
And what this idea came to me was when I was thinking about if I was able to create a character that was so complex and so much like a puzzle that you kind of have to go back and reread things. You have to go back and kind of relive that in order to really understand. And that kind of helps me gauge like my audience too. There are people that will read it and they won't really feel much. They'll be like, oh, this was nice, but I don't feel the need to go back. And I know that's not entirely my audience. My audience will be the people that also enjoy puzzles, that enjoy figuring things out and like sitting with things for like a minute longer than they should.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
So
I like that idea. I like to write flash fiction, which is, just short stuff. And I love it when at the very end, my last line flips everything. And they're like, whoa, wait, I thought this is what was happening instead,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
so I like that idea of making people then have to go back and read it again. Like, could I have figured that out? Like,
Right.
was there enough information there?
Absolutely. Like, did I just hallucinate that? Did I just hallucinate the whole book? Like, unreliable narrators, like books that end in a cliffhanger, books that are just a little bit too cruel, but enough to keep the reader engaged. Like, I love that. And that's kind of where I'm heading with this trilogy. Is like the first book is just, it names it. The second book is like, what it names, and the third book is like, oh my gosh, why did I go through that? Like, why did I put myself through that? That's kind of the emotions I want my readers to feel.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, you claim that it's your character who wrote the poem, and I get that. As an author, my characters often are telling me what to do, and I feel like, okay, I'm just dictating. And you say that this isn't your life experience. But I also know that very rarely do I write a character that there isn't some of me in it. So do you find yourself in this character?
Oh, absolutely. It's basically like when people read this book, they're going to understand me better as a human being, as a person, as a complex individual. And it's like, it's a narration of, I wouldn't say exact events, but the emotions behind it, the way things are written, the way that I have built up certain things have definitely been my own. But I have, maybe it's plausible deniability. Maybe I don't want to take accountability for my actions. I created a character, and it's kind of like my way of saying like, if you don't like this character, then essentially you're not going to like me as a person. But you know what? I'm going to use that as plausible deniability. But,
well, and I think too that there is that point where you get to do the creative license, where it's, sometimes I'm writing a character and there's a lot of me in it, but then I'll have my character do something that maybe I wouldn't do. Or maybe I wish that I could do, but there's no way in the world I would ever do that.
Absolutely.
Or maybe it's something I would have done 10 years ago, but I wouldn't do now.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And so, I like that idea. All of my characters have me in it somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know how to write a character that doesn't have at least some emotion or some experience that I've gone through.
Right.
In some way. Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Good.
And it's like, you know yourself best, right? So you sit with yourself as like creative people. We analyze ourselves constantly, things we should have said, things we didn't say, things we wish we had said, like things like all of that. And so I feel like that comes out in writing, because a lot of it is like, like a little bit of it is fantasy based. It's like, if I was there in that time, if I did this, the outcome would have been different. But it's kind of nice to kind of imagine that in your head, and you just, you make a world out of it. And
I agree. So looking at the first book, it's poetry. Is there one in the collection that you liked the best?
Yes, actually. It's so funny that you say that. So I had been writing this since 2020, right? When the pandemic hit is when I really got into writing a lot more, because I had so much time on my hands. Like, we were in quarantine. It was like, watching TikTok, learning the dances, and then just like, writing, because there was a lot more time. And then I think it's funny because I had worked so hard on those poems, but then the one that like completely just like blew my own mind, and I kind of like, started seeing myself in a whole different light, was the very last one. And that last poem wasn't supposed to be in my book, but like in 2024, right before I was like, putting together my manuscript through Barnes and Nobles, I was like, wait, I think this one needs to go in there. I think this one is the icing on the cake. Like, I think this is a poem that maybe people will like more than the other ones, or like I'll have a different audience for just for this poem. And it's true, because when I added that, when I had my friends read it, when I had colleagues, when I had mentors, for some reason everyone gravitated towards that poem, and it's just funny to me because that was not supposed to be there. And then
isn't it interesting how sometimes those things happen where it's like,
yeah.
oh, I've just had this. So I'm not that person. I liked the last poem, but the two that I really enjoyed were Reds and Rosés. And then I also liked, I think it was called Whispers at Dinner.
Uh-huh.
And
yes.
the reason I really liked it is because it flipped traditional roles.
Right.
Right. And so we see the man doing things that you expect more of a woman to do, and you see a woman doing something more that you'd expect the man to do. And I always like it when we see a character who isn't just like every other character.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for that. But yeah, so like those two poems are actually two scenes in my my second book. And it's funny because the character that this book is like, formed around, she is the one that she's done those things, right? Like those are real-time experiences, but they will make sense once you read the second book. And then it's kind of like, if people that enjoy my series, they'll want to go back to the first book and be like, wait a second, this is the action, but then this is what like actually happened, or this is what she did. And it's like a form of having an unreliable narrator. I really enjoy that, to where it's like you kind of have to put together puzzles to figure out,
what's actually going on here.
What's actually going on. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I like that idea. When someone is done reading this first book, okay, especially someone like me who didn't know there would be a book 2 and 3,
right?
Because it doesn't say so. It's not like you look at it and go, oh, this is gonna. What do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to when they read the first book, you mean, or when they read the whole series?
When they read the poetry, just that very first one, the one that I've read. What do you want them to walk away with?
Questions. I want people to walk away with questions. I want people to read this and think, okay, because the thing is, my background is I'm a medical student, right? So this is kind of like, in the medical world with like my colleagues and stuff, like this is kind of like a shocker, like, because like there's a stigma where like, in medicine, it's like you're all about medicine, like you're linear, you're serious, and then
you're scientific, everything's
scientific, like you're just sitting there, you're all about science. But then when you add a person that does both, it's like it's a conflict. Again, it's the whole idea of like, can one person be both? Can you have both in the same space, right?
Yeah.
So when people read my book, it's like, without knowing the context of it, it's kind of like, oh, was this like just something, spur of the moment? Was she going through something? Like, what was going on? Like, what is this? Is it like a diary? And I want people to walk away with more questions than they have answers. And that's because it kind of leads them into the second book. Right. And when they go into the second book, it starts making a lot more sense as to, okay, so this is a world of its own. Like, there are characters. There is this one main character, and she's narrating the second book. So essentially the first book is like a diary of her poems. And the second book gives context to those poems. So right now, like, the first book is just ingredients. The second book is like the main, like the dish, like it's the thing that you eat that kind of makes sense as to why these ingredients were even added in the first place. So yeah, to answer your question, I want people to walk away more confused with more questions, because to me, it's like, if you're engaged, you have questions. If you like something, you have questions. Even if you don't like something, you also have questions. But it just shows me that even if, people don't resonate with what I wrote, the fact that I'm sitting with it, they're sitting with my book and me, even like for a minute or two, that's more than enough for me. Yeah. It means that I left some sort of impact, or just anything that proves that, like, you could essentially, you could be in science, but also you could be creative too. Like, you could have two conflicting ideas, two conflicting, parts of yourself, but still be whole.
I love that. I tell people that I feel like I have two very distinct me's. I have a left-brained me, and my left-brained me is very clinical and I have lists, and I know what I'm doing every day, and I follow the rules, and and then there's right brain me, and right brain me writes,
Right.
And
Absolutely.
left brain me has to be kicked out of the room in
Yeah.
order
Yeah.
for right brain. My left brain and right brain, I think, have a very large wall between them. They rarely speak to one another. They don't really care for one another.
Right.
And when one's in charge, the other one is just very silent.
Right.
You know, and
Absolutely.
so I like that idea, and I do like the idea of two things sitting together that don't go together.
Yeah.
And just for a little personal, I recently lost my husband. So my husband passed away with brain cancer a little over a year ago, and I've had a lot of moments where I have been both joyous and horribly sad,
Right.
all at the exact same moment. Not first one then the other, but like simultaneously, that I'm both laughing and the tears are streaming.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And so I completely agree with that idea that two opposing things can sit together.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more and more that that is actually truer to life than this idea of black or white.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're really, I don't think there are too many things that sit in one space or another. I think there's a whole lot more gray.
There's a lot more gray. Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like as you get older, that's when you realize, because when you're younger, life is just like white and black, you know, it's like, it's good or bad. But then as you get older, like when the gray starts bleeding in, it's kind of like, you know, there are a lot of ways to get around things. And it's like, and then society teaches you that too, right? Like you're supposed to be kind to everybody. You're supposed to like, you're essentially, society teaches us to be people pleasers because that's just the way the world works, is you can't really, yes, honesty is great, but like there's always a time and place for that. So I really feel like, you know, as you get older, there's a lot more gray than there is black and white.
Right. Well, like you said, honesty is wonderful, but what if being honest actually hurts someone? You know,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So then maybe honesty is like, maybe it's better to be silent.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's better just to tell a little fib, especially if that little fib isn't going to hurt anyone.
Right.
You
and
know,
if it's going
like
to bring a smile on someone's face, then you're essentially doing more good than harm, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, do I look okay in this outfit? Like saying no isn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you look fine. Like it isn't going to change the outcome of the world, but it's going to keep someone from going home crying. You know,
absolutely.
So yeah, no, I agree that yes, always tell the truth, except when the truth hurts someone, and then maybe not so much.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your writing process. I always love to talk with authors. Like, are you a write every day kind of girl? Are you a sit down only when it strikes you? Do you plot things out? Do you just let it come to you? How does that look for you?
So for me, I think I'm a type B writer where like there really is, I wouldn't say there's a lot of organization. Like I don't take a couple hours out of my day to write because I feel like if I did that, it becomes kind of like a chore for me. And when something becomes a chore, I tend to procrastinate and I tend to just put it back at the end of at the end of my to-do list. Because I feel like it should be like an emotion, like something that's just so overwhelming that you have to just pull yourself aside regardless of what's going on. You pull out your notes app. That's what I do. Like I think my writing is mostly encompassed on my phone, like in my notes app. If I lose my phone, I lose everything. That's why I'm like, I freak out all the time. I have panic attacks where I'm like, wait, where's my phone? Where's my phone?
Where's my phone?
Yeah, but like it's so funny because I've had scares where I've like lost my phone and my dad's more concerned about, well, your credit card information on there. I'm like, well, yeah, but my writing is on there too. Like
it's like my poetry, my writing, all of it's gone.
My whole world is on there. So a lot of that time that looks like if I'm out with my friends, like if I'm at a restaurant or a coffee shop and then I'm having a conversation and they tell me an experience or something, is just like something that just like brings goosebumps, or I just have like this moment. I'm just like, wait 1 second. I pull out my phone. I just start typing. I'm like, 1 second. I have to write this down. Or if it's like someone said something and it's just so like thought provoking and like it just makes you feel like, wow, I don't think I've heard that before. It's a very original idea. Then I'm like, wait, I need to pen this down. So it's very much like that. So sometimes I even have like dreams that are so vivid that I wake up in the middle of the night and then I like grab my phone or like something to write it down because I can't let it wait till the morning because at that point, like half of my
it might be gone.
It might be gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like spontaneous. It's like spontaneous writing. It's a lot of it is like, you know, I'm just so encompassed or overwhelmed by something. A lot of it is like emotion too. If I'm having a bad day, if I'm like exceptionally sad, I try to make the most out of it where I'm like, this is a good state of mind to write. Like, that's what I tell myself. I'm like, you know what? I need to be sad. I need to cry it out because this is what's going to like bleed through, you know, my characters. And so then I start writing then. So it really is just, it's very variable. It really depends. But no, I don't set out like a couple hours a day. Although I admire people that do, because that means like their manuscript gets finished a lot quicker and they're really on top of it. So that's something I wish something I should probably like learn or like adopt in some way, shape, or form.
So I tell people that I'm a binge writer. When I write, I could write for hours, but I don't write every day. And I have tried writing every day and it does not work for me. I sit and I stare at the computer and it stares back at me. And if I do manage to write something, I don't like it.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it's very left-brained Terry came out on the page and it's no good. Because left-brained Terry is not a writer. It's like, that's just not where and so I used to be like you saying, I wish I should, I probably need to learn. And I've given up that. And I've decided that I would not recommend my way of writing to other people. But for me, it's the only way that works.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. What works for you wouldn't work for someone else, but it works for you. Like, you know yourself better than anyone else. So, and I just want to take a little bit of time just to say that I am a huge fan of yours, actually. So when I got this opportunity to be on your podcast, to tell you like how I felt it was unreal. Like I felt like I was in a fever dream. I was like, there's no way. There's no way she responded. There's no way this is happening. Like,
I'm going to have you call me every morning and tell me how wonderful I am so that I feel good about myself, because there are days where I'm like,
Absolutely. I wouldn't even mind. Like, you're an inspiration to me. Your book, Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, and like Enemy Like Me, and like just everything that you've written is so beautiful. It's like,
that is so sweet. That like you've made my whole day. I mean, happy day to be. So that's great. That's great. No, I'm definitely what I call a pantser. So I write by the seat of my pants, like what comes up in my head. I get an idea for a book and I have nothing other than the one idea. Right. It's not the whole book. It's maybe a scene or sometimes it's a character.
Right.
And I don't even know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I sit down with the character and it's kind of like, so tell me what you're doing today. And I just start writing, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I think I know what's going to happen next.
Yes.
But I very rarely, I'm often 60,000 words into an 80,000 word book and I still don't know how it's going to end.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree.
And it's a little scary.
Yeah.
After writing that many words and you're like, oh, I hope this comes to an end. Like, I don't know where the end is. I don't know where it is. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know. I feel like everything just opens up and I can see the end, and then I can't write fast enough.
Yes.
Because it's like, I'm almost afraid I'm going to forget, like, exactly. I got to get this, I got to get it all down. I got to get it all down. So yeah, that's crazy. I like meeting other people who have that kind of writing style, because I'm firmly okay with the fact this is the way I write, but it sometimes makes me feel like I'm not a real author. Because real authors like have an outline, and real authors write every day. And I don't do either of those. And so when I meet other real authors who also don't do those things, it's like, oh, good. I'm not completely alone.
No, that's so funny that you say that, because I understand that. It feels like an imposter syndrome, because I have talked to people that are in the literary world that have they'll have like an outline, and then they'll have like a first draft, they'll have a second draft, and they're like, they have so many drafts. And what I like to like think of when, like I hear their story and then I look at myself is like, there's a book, it's called like Water for Chocolate, right? And the whole premise of this book is like the main character, when she cooks, her emotions bleed through the food, and whoever eats it feels what she's feeling. And
Oh,
so
fun. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very interesting book, and I love that book. And so it's kind of like that. I feel like I mean, everyone has a different way of writing, but I feel like what you put originally, like your draft that's like as raw as possible, those emotions stick. And so when other people read that, it feels like they're in it, and it feels like that those emotions are somehow just like transferring to them in real time. And that's kind of like the way I like to think of it. It's like because I'm the same way. Like if I am not really in the mood to write, I could go like days, weeks, months, but then there's something that happens, something that
and then bam, yeah.
And it's like you can't move me at that point. It's kind of like obsessive. It's like if I don't write this, like in my head, I'm like the world will end. Like the world is just going to collapse. Like I need to get this out. Like this needs to be said. So
there are times where I will sit down to start writing, and I get in a flow. Everything is making sense. My characters are speaking to me. And hours will pass. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I kind of come out of it, and it's like, whoa, what time is it? Oh my gosh, I've missed lunch. I've missed dinner. I haven't gotten up out of this chair in 7 hours. What in the world? But I don't feel like that much time has passed.
Right. Absolutely.
But the next day I might not write at all.
Yeah. And then
because I got it out of my system. I don't have anything else to say right now. Right.
Yeah. Like the itch is gone for now until it comes back.
Absolutely. So you have the second book and a third. Any clue when we'll see those? Like when do you hope they're going to be out for the rest of us?
So the second book, I'm almost done with it. So I would say about maybe by the end of this year, if all goes well. Awesome. And I don't like just scrap the whole thing and like somehow don't lose my phone, my laptop doesn't break on me, and there's no technology issues, because that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing where you know, like if your laptop or your phone just like messes up and just doesn't work, then like the whole world that you created is essentially gone.
Which is why I have backups. I have a backup, an external backup drive, and I also back it up to the cloud. So I have two backup sources, because I have the fear of losing everything. So I back it up to the cloud, but just in case something horrible happens to the cloud, which I don't understand, I just know it's there.
It's there,
right? And what if someday it's not? I also have a external drive that I plug in. That's really good. Yeah. And I don't put everything on that, but I put all of my writing on that.
Okay.
So that it's like, if nothing else, I have my drive.
You have your drive.
I know it's there, right?
Yeah.
So
No, that's so funny. You know, I need to get a drive, because I think my way is way more disorganized. I've sent very close friends copies. Like I'm like, hey, keep this.
But that's better than nothing. I mean, that's better. But there is that kind of fear, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like I said, I don't understand how the cloud thing works, but what if somehow it doesn't?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have that same fear too. And I feel like back in the day when people used typewriters or like actually wrote things out, they didn't really have that fear unless like, you know, so like unless there was
a fire. Their house could burn down, right?
Yeah, their house could burn down. But like, you know, technology getting deranged and messed up is a lot more common than like someone's house is like completely burning down.
Absolutely.
But to answer your question, yes, I'm hoping that by the end of this year, book 2 is out. And, you know, and like, I would reach out to you again and, you know, come back on here. It would kind of feel like a full circle moment.
No, I think it would. I think it would, because I would love to see how this process of yours, like I said, I've never spoken to someone who started out with a book of poetry that is actually more than that. Most of the time when people write a book of poetry, that's what it is.
Right.
That's all it is. And I don't mean that all but that's exactly what it is. It is poetry. It is meant to make you think. It is whatever. And I have never read a book of poetry that is actually an introduction to a world, to a story, to a set of characters. So it's very interesting. I'm excited about this, as much for just the concept as anything else, because it's just very different, and I
Thank
love
you.
different. I
Thank
think
you.
that's really interesting.
I really appreciate that.
So Hema, if someone wanted to get up with you, talk with you about this cool idea of yours, what's the best way for them to reach out and follow you?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram, and my handle is at Hema Bema, so HEMAABEMAA. And I also have a website. It's Hema Gupta. Hold on. I recently just made this website too. That's how
it's all right. I will have it in the show notes, guys, so
Okay,
you'll be able to just
perfect.
click it. So that'll be perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So I would definitely recommend that you run out and get this first book before the second one drops so that you can read it. It's The Things We Never Said Out Loud. Once you have read it, make sure you review it, because reviews really mean a lot to authors. It helps people find us. Otherwise, we're not found, and that's a very difficult thing. And Hema, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so glad that you've reached out and that we connected.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you responded to my email and you gave me this opportunity, because I just want to tell the viewers, I had emailed Miss Terry a year before. I think it was 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it's been because I have a long waiting list.
She has a long waiting list, and a part of me was if this happens, this is great, but if it doesn't, it's still cool that I was able to reach out. And then I forgot about it, and I think that's how manifestation works too. When you really want something and then you forget about it, and it's just so much more quicker. It's expedited, And when you email me back, I was like, oh my God, this cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. Because when you like an author and you read their work, and then, you're able to be on their show and then talk about your work, it's kind of really, it's a fever dream. It's those moments when when you have 102 degrees of a fever, and you're opening your eyes when you're sick, and you feel like you're hallucinating. It doesn't
right.
That's how I felt when I got your email back, and you said, I'm almost towards towards your
yeah,
book.
I'm almost to that point. Are you still wanting to be on the show? Right.
Yeah, I was yes, that's not even a question. Yes,
you did reach out very quickly. Yes, I'm interested.
100%. I woke up. That was the first thing I usually my routine is I wake up, I check my emails. That's part of my my social media routine. So I usually check my emails first. And I was I was half asleep, but then I saw your name, and then I read that. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. I need to respond before before somehow this doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, before she says, oh, never mind, right?
Yeah, never mind. Actually, you took too long.
Well, Hema, I do want to thank you for being on. This is fantastic, and definitely reach out when you get this next book out.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.